Hey guys, it's Mommy of Two, Wife of One. I've missed you guys so much. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope that you're staying cool in this heat. I've noticed that a lot of my Facebook friends are getting married or getting engaged, which is a wonderful, beautiful, amazing thing. But after watching the latest episode of Married at First Sight, which I hope you guys watched, this is an amazing show. But after watching that episode last week, I was reminded of a lot of things that new brides or people who are newly engaged, how we tend to focus on the wrong things. And someone once told me that you shouldn't spend all of your energy focusing on the wedding. You should take that energy and focus it on the marriage. That doesn't mean you don't want your wedding to be beautiful. Obviously, who wants a horrible wedding? You want the pretty flowers, you want the nice invitations, you want beautiful decorations, you want the dress to look great, and blah blah blah, all that stuff. But it is important that you remember it's just one day. Everything leading up to the wedding takes a long time. It's a long process, spending a lot of money. But once that day actually comes, it goes by extremely fast. So your attention would be best to focus on the actual marriage portion of it and understand that the time of engagement doesn't necessarily mean that it's the time to prepare to get married. Sometimes it's the time to figure out if you are ready to get married. Getting married is a big step, and a lot of people say, what happens if you get divorced later? Who wants to be divorced? It's a very tedious process. It's heartbreaking for a lot of people, and it's expensive. And why go through all of that if you do the things in the beginning to prepare to stay married for as long as you can possibly stay married? Also, for all of you who are planning to get married, hopefully you guys go through some kind of counseling beforehand. Because even if you've been with someone for a really long time, you don't really know them as a husband, and you don't know them as a wife. You know them as a boyfriend or girlfriend or a fiance. Being a husband and a wife is a whole different ballgame. The main elements are still kind of there, but you never know what a person is thinking once that ring is on their finger in terms of, the new responsibilities that they feel like they have now, the new things that they feel like they're supposed to do. So you don't really know how a person is as a husband until you actually marry that person. So don't base your boyfriend on what you think he's going to be like as a husband. They're going to be two kind of polar opposite people. One thing that I think is really important when you first get engaged and you sit down and talk with your husband, your future husband or future wife, I think it's important to talk about what kind of marriage you want and what kind of spouse your intended wants you to be. And the reason why I say that's a very important topic is because people have different ideals of what a good husband and what a good wife are. I mean, you have the standard stuff like, they provide for the family, they help pay for the bills, they split chores evenly, they're a good father, good mother, whatever. There's some specific things that your future husband may want from you. And there may be some things that your future wife may want from you. So I think it's very important to have that conversation, a very frank and open discussion about what you are expecting and what they expect from you. And I think that it helps if you have marriages in your life that you can kind of pull from. Not saying that you try to model your marriage after other marriages, but when my husband and I first got engaged, he and I sat down, and obviously the main marriages that we saw were our parents' marriage. And not saying that our parents' marriages are horrible marriages. They're still married and still happy as far as we know. But there are some things that we both saw in our household that we didn't necessarily want to recreate in our own marriage. And so we had a very open and frank discussion about what we don't want to have happen. And I think having that is important because we know going in what the hard limits are. We know going in what is expected of us. We knew going in that, okay, it's very important to both of us that we spend some quality time together. My husband and I already had a son before we got married. And obviously, when you become a parent, a lot of your energy and your focus is on that child. And sometimes in the process, you can neglect your spouse. And you don't do it on purpose, but sometimes it happens. You have your child, you have your job, you have your friends, you have all these other things going on in your life. And sometimes it may be not difficult, but sometimes you may forget to take that time out just to be with your spouse, just one on one. So when he and I first got married, that's one of the things that he and I agreed on is that we have to make sure we take that time to talk to each other. We take that time to be intimate and affectionate with each other, and we just take that time to be husband and wife, and not necessarily mommy and daddy. But mommy and daddy is a 24-hour job, but so is husband and wife. We wanted to make sure we nurture that relationship like we nurtured everything else in our marriage. And there are other things that we discuss, but I think it's important to have those discussions before you get married. Because all of my friends, or enemies or associates, people I don't know, if you are planning to get married, make sure you have these kind of conversations with your intended person. Talk about what kind of wife they expect from you. Talk about what kind of husband they expect from you. Talk about the marriages that you guys have seen growing up and the current marriages that you know now. You know, the marriages of your friends, of people in your church. Talk about what you like, what you don't like. Have these conversations. They may get a little awkward and uncomfortable at times, but it's very important to have these discussions now. Because if you don't, and things come up later on in the marriage, it's just going to turn to this big old mess, and you don't want to end up in a marriage where you're not talking to each other, where you guys are, not speaking to each other for whatever reason. And I think that a reason why a lot of those issues may come up later on in the marriage, if you don't talk about it, is because each person is dealing with their own set of assumptions. I, as the wife, assume that my husband knows that I don't like when he does blah 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 blah. He, as a husband, is going to assume that I know what he's thinking and that I understand his motivations. But if you don't physically have these conversations and you're basing everything off of an assumption and you guys haven't discussed these assumptions, then where are you guys going to go from there? So it is very important to talk about it. It's important to put your focus on your marriage. Make a concerted effort to work on your marriage every single day. Don't treat it like a job where, oh, I gotta go again. Oh, I'm so tired. Don't treat it like that. If you sorry, if you view marriage in that way, then it is gonna be just tedious, and you're gonna kind of half step it, and you're not gonna really give your all. And then what's the point of being married? But it is something that you do need to work on, and both parties have to be willing and excited and eager and honest about working on the marriage. And it starts with just communicating with each other and understanding that you guys are in this together. So that's my spiel for this week. I hope you guys, again, are safe. I hope you're happy. Hope you guys are getting ready for back to school. If your kids have gone back to school, congratulations. I pray that you guys will remain involved in your kids' lives and join the PTA. If your kids haven't gone back to school like mine haven't, I pray you enjoy the rest of your summer. Continue to be safe, and hopefully I will have a new video for you guys in the next week. Bye.